Hello and welcome to this week's Hashtag Toe to Toe. I'm Andy Scott, and as always I'm joined by historian and brand new fade on his head, Spencer Fearon.
Big up new brand.
And we are joined by John Ryder. John, great to see you, mate. How are you doing?
I'm good, right? Thanks for having me back here again.
Yeah, you've come straight from sparring.
Yep.
He's a soldier.
A soldier. How's that going?
Well, it was good 6 rounds with Danny Dingham. I heard about Spencer's fade, so I had to get over and see it for myself.
Very good. Well, let's get straight into the tweets that people have sent in to us. Number one, Thomas Lyons, is to you, John. Fair to say this is a career-defining fight between you and Jamie Cox on May 5th. The winner could still have world title ambitions in sight. What do you expect Cox to bring to the table, and is there anything you can take from his last few fights that you need to be cautious about? Great question, Thomas.
He's got a lot of power in the. I don't know if it's so much the backhand, but the right hook is a good shot for him. So it's good for myself as well. Both like a right hook. He obviously carries a bit of power. We're going to see a better Cox, I think, than the Groves fight, because he's obviously had a lot to work on. He's probably gone away, done a lot of looking back at himself and what he needs to improve on. So, yeah, I feel that he's got to have made a lot of improvements. And
Do you think this is his last chance saloon for both you guys because of the magnitude of the fight, 2 southpaws, and you're both hungry? What do you think?
Definitely, yeah. You can only go to the world so many times. So I think it's his shot at redemption, getting back up there, and it's my chance to get there.
One of the interesting factors in this fight, and I put it to Jamie Cox after his last fight, we obviously know you for a long time in your career as a middleweight. And one of the things about Jamie Cox, maybe in his defeat to George Groves, a lot of people questioned if he was a true super middleweight. But this fight is made at 12 stone. Do you believe from yourself that you are effective as a super middleweight?
I know I'm a true middleweight and
Super middleweight.
Super middleweight.
What weight did you wake up at this morning?
Let's not declare it.
Big, right? It's big.
Nah, 12 stone 12 this morning. 12 stone 9 after sparring. So I know I'm a true super middleweight now. I've grown into it, and I've been alongside Jamie Cox, and I know that he is of a similar stamp, a little bit taller, but similar build.
Yeah, that was his answer as well after his last fight. It was easy for me to say, can you make middleweight after that fight? Jez Bachelor says, who has been the biggest puncher you faced as a pro so far?
I would say Sergei Kamitsky. I mean, I did kind of take the punch power away from him, boxing on the back foot and being quite smart, but he was a big puncher.
He was a right handful for a lot of Brits as well, wasn't he? Yeah, he fought Ryan Rhodes and Ryan Rhodes beat him, but he retired Jamie Moore, beat Frank Buglioni, Adam Etches as well. So that's a great answer. It wouldn't have probably been the one I would have picked, but
who would you have picked, and did you get punched by him?
No, neither. No, Spencer used to knock me about a little bit. Ed Robinson dropped me when we were messing about, so I'd have to say him.
Ed told me you weren't messing back.
No, he wasn't. We weren't messing about. I know. Norman Barton tweeted in: is Billy Joe Saunders the best boxer you've shared a ring with? His confidence must be on a high following his outclassing of David Lemieux, and his conditioning fitness looks spot on now. Does he beat Triple G if he fights him this year? Spencer, I'll come to you first on that one.
I really do rate Billy Joe right now, especially now he's under the tutelage of Dominic Ingle. I think that's suited to him, his style, that is so suited to him, and I think he's a handful for anyone. And depending on what Golovkin's got left, we don't know what he's got left. He's getting older, right? I would tip Billy Joe to beat Golovkin. And people, what are you talking about? I really do. He fabulously impressed me against David Lemieux, and he's just got so much. He's got tricks. He's like, he's got more tricks than Paul Daniels. So I would think that he could beat the guy on points.
Don't laugh at him, John. It only encourages him. How good does your performance now stack up? Well, I should say this to Spencer. It's maybe not fair. How good does John's performance against Billy Joe stack up now compared to how good Billy Joe has looked?
That is 2013. And that was 2013 you fought him, right?
It was,
and that was you gave him a really good run. It was tight. And I remember at the time, like, certain people thought that you won that fight. Yeah. Now, in hindsight, it stacks up brilliantly because look what the guy's done. He beat Lemieux. He was the first man to beat Chris Eubank Jr. Now, in hindsight, you think, well, you know what? You gave him a run. That is a that's a confidence booster for you going into this fight that you got.
Yeah, massively. I mean, he's a great fighter, isn't he? And you've got to back him against anyone now. I mean, what he done to David Lemieux just made him look like an absolute kid. He just schooled him, and I'd back him against Triple G now. He's got the style to frustrate and beat him.
Wow. Yeah, I hope you're right as well. I just hope we get to see them fight. Let's go into the world of fantasy with Super Frankie Lampard. Thanks, Frank. How would Triple G have done against the Fab Four of Hagler, Hearns, Leonard and Duran, John?
I would love to have seen him fight Duran. I think it would have just been an absolute slugfest. Duran was a bit of a lunatic, and he would have just stood
In and out the ring.
In and out the ring.
I'm telling you that now.
He would have just stood there taking shots to the head until he probably went over. The likes of Leonard, I think, would have just back-footed him all night and tried to jab and slip and move.
Would have been so much fun, wouldn't it?
That would have been interesting to watch. Don't know, Hagler and Hearns. They'd have all been interesting, wouldn't they? But I still back Golovkin to have won.
You got to be quick on this one, but how would you have ordered them?
How would I order them? Sugar Lane was a welterweight. Roberto Duran was a lightweight. Tommy Hearns' greatest performance as a middleweight was 1986 on the undercard of Marvin Hagler versus John the Beast Mugabe. So and that was against James Schuler. That Tommy Hearns would have knocked Golovkin clean spark out. And the Marvin Hagler of the 1985 fight that he had with Tommy Hearns, that Marvin Hagler beat anyone. And along that, Marvin Hagler was really discredited because he was a very, very good boxer. So I think maybe Hagler and Hearns would have dealt with him. I think Leonard would have been too small, and so would Roberto Duran. But Roberto Duran of 1989, who beat Iron Barkley in that barn burner, he was 37 years old, that would have given him a run. But I would still say, like, Hagler and Hearns would have beaten him.
Thanks for doing that so quickly, mate. That was a really smart, quick answer. Last one to you, John. We didn't get through all three of these this week, but last word on you ahead of your fight. Just what would it mean to you to beat Jamie Cox at the O2 on a big undercard, and where would that leave you?
Well, it's a great event in my hometown. And really would propel me onto a world title shot.
Brilliant. OK, well, thanks for coming in, especially straight from sparring and good verbal sparring with you, Spencer. We'll have more time to talk about this in the podcast, so make sure you join us later on and catch the full podcast later.
Sky Sports. Feel it all.